Hey everyone, it's a good day, and I'm Russ Johns, and this is Future Media TV. And today we have Biggie's Fit Games and the Expo Show, hosted by our good friend Ernesto, Big E, as he's known in the industry. And we have a very important announcement to share today about the Biggie's Fit Games that are going on June 4th at the Legends Sports Complex here in Houston, Texas, in the Houston market. And this is an international show. Ernesto, thank you so much for hosting this event and hosting this show today.
Thank you.
And also we have in the show today is Leslie, and I'll let you introduce Leslie and have a conversation. So Ernesto, tell us a little bit about what you're up to today.
Well, we're actually going to interview one of our athletes from both WABA and from GBO. We're one of our recent GBO pros from the UK. How's it going, Leslie?
Hi there. Yeah, really good. Thank you. Really, really good.
Good. So for our viewers out here, why don't you tell us what time it is out there?
It's 8 o'clock in the evening just at the moment, so it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, Leslie, tell us a little bit about, I want people to know the international factor that we have as an organization, both with WABA, World Amateur Bodybuilding, and with, global bodybuilding. So how long have you been competing in the UK?
I've been competing for near on 10 years now, all in all, from the very start. And yeah, I mean, it's taken me all over the world, really. I moved to New Zealand in 2010, and I competed out there with them, with WFF. And then I moved back to the UK around 2013, and I did a couple more shows with the WFF, and then found WABA last year. Ended up doing a couple of their shows. Went over to do the Worlds and also to do the Universe down in December, and I was asked to come on over and compete in Oklahoma with GBO just in February, which was brilliant. It was a really, really good opportunity to have, and for it to be the first affiliated competition. There was no chance of not coming on, so it was brilliant. It was really good.
Oh, good. We had a great time having you there, as well as a great event by you turning professional at that particular event. Why don't you tell our listeners, in the sport of bodybuilding, especially here in the United States, you rarely, I could say most competitors will never do an international event. What is the feeling that you get, traveling all over the world and competing against people that you have? There's only one common thing that you probably guys have, and that's the sport of bodybuilding. You have the language barrier, you have, differences in foods. So how, as a competitor, how does that make you feel? And is there fears? Tell us about, how you accomplished all that.
I wouldn't say fear. I think it's an amazing feeling, really, to be honest. I've competed in several different countries: New Zealand, Australia, through the UK. I've been to Austria, I've been to Ireland, and obviously over to America now as well. And you just meet, because everybody loves the sport, it doesn't really matter if you can't speak the language. Because a smile says 1,000 words at the end of the day, really, and it's brilliant because everybody is in the same boat regardless of language, and there's always been a very good feeling amongst the athletes. There's never really been any kind of animosities or anything like that, and it's just always been something that I absolutely love competing internationally. I think it's fantastic to get out there, see big teams or small teams, and the flags are around and people are kind of, just kind of around and doing their thing. And it's still a really, really supportive atmosphere to be in. And it's brilliant. Oklahoma was amazing. To be honest, we were actually quite surprised at how friendly everybody was. We had no idea really how it was going to be, and had an absolute blast with you guys. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. Can't wait to come again next year. It was good.
So you would say that even with, there's in the sport, or people that really don't know the sport, there's that problem with or that view of bodybuilders being a little bit, high on themselves, stuck on themselves, or a little bit too intimidating. When you're competing and you've gone to all these different competitions, do you see that? Do you feel that, going internationally?
No, not really, to be honest. I can understand what other people are, what they think and why they say that, because people do get tired, possibly a little bit grouchy or whatever. But I think especially on show day, there's nothing more that you can do. Everybody is, it is what it is. There's nothing else left to do apart from to enjoy it. And the majority of people will tend to kind of help each other out, because you still need that support, especially internationally. If you don't have the ability to bring a lot of people out with you, I've been competing in some places where I've been the only representative there, so I've needed other people to help. It's difficult to put your bikini on by yourself or to tan your own back and things like this, and everybody completely understands. So it's actually a really nice community to be in, and backstage is always a fun place to be. Definitely, it's great. It's good.
Well, I know that in the last competition that I saw you before you came to the United States and competed at the Oklahoma event was at the Universe and in the Canary Islands, South Spain.
Yeah.
That whole particular event, there's a lot of emotion. Again, you start seeing, this is what I noticed being sitting on the judges' table in that event. There's a lot of emotion coming from all the competitors, especially because, like I said, you have a language barrier, so their communication is coming from their body movements and their expressions and their feelings and the joy that they have, and again the pride of not just of their bodies but of representing their country.
Yeah.
When you guys are back there and you're trying to help each other and putting on your swimsuit, putting on some oil, or helping somebody, giving them some water or anything like that. It was, I know when the event was over, it was very hard to get people to leave backstage. Tell us a little bit about that.
We didn't want to go. We wanted to get back on stage and showboat a bit more. Yeah, I mean, it's your opportunity to meet new people and to be there and to try and communicate and to meet new friends or catch up with old friends that you haven't maybe seen for a year or so, because that's the only time you get to see people. And so yeah, a lot of the time you kind of you do want to sort of stay around and try and have a chat with people as and when you can. The day is done and you've got nothing else to do there and then, so it is quite nice to then just try and have a relax and a bar of chocolate with somebody, isn't it? So, in my case, chocolate.
Do you remember your first competition?
Yes.
Do you remember your first competition?
I try to forget it, to be honest with you. So I think I was really lucky.
For somebody who's been at it for a long period of time, the other one, I want this to get out there. This is one of the questions that I've always wanted to ask somebody who's been, as opposed to myself from being in the sport for a long period of time, but I want listeners to understand and hear from somebody, especially somebody not from the United States, that you've been competing for this long and you've kept going and going. What has been your motivation from, again, your first competition, which you're trying to forget, now you and the professional status that you have now? What kept you going every time to keep continuing to compete and then to compete in many different organizations like you have?
A lot of the time with this, I find it's almost like trying to create your own. I see it as like an art, almost like an art sculpture of your own body. So I love to be able to see the areas that need to change, that I specifically want to change or to adapt through training, and then by applying different techniques of training and diet, how you can manipulate your own body, your own muscle fibers, in order to create a different look or to create something new. So I see it almost like just like a live sculpture of yourself, if you like, to be able to try and manipulate stuff to come up with a different look. Just not just the training, but the science behind everything as well, and how you can just kind of work over time in order to see the changes. And when you do see the changes, for me, I've only ever really wanted to be different or better than my previous show. So that's kind of what drives me. I'm quite a goal-driven person. So with things like that, if I've got something that I want to alter or to change or to look at, for me, it's a really kind of good, exciting journey, if you like, in order to try and see if I can make the change or make some sort of change by the time the next competition comes around, really. And then obviously, if you do start doing well, then that's a pretty decent driver as well, and you start getting more trophies around and things like that, and you kind of go, oh, this isn't as bad as you think it is. Really. It ends up being a good journey.
Did you ever have that conversation with yourself in a competition to tell it, I think this was going to be my last one? And then what I want, it's a twofold question. One, when you say that, this was hard to get to, it was, I struggled a lot. I've changed my body. I think this is going to be the last one. And then once you're done with that competition, what changed your mind to actually say, no, I'm going to continue to keep going?
It was last year for the Hercules show, the WABA Hercules show, which we have here, Hercules International, Olympia. And it had been a really hard prep for that one. I kind of went into it at about 80%, really. There'd just been a lot of factors which had made it very difficult in order to kind of get to where I wanted. And I stood on stage and I was not as good as I had wanted to be. I was in okay shape, but for me personally, it wasn't quite where I wanted to be. And at that stage, I was just like, I'm not entirely sure if I've got any more to give, sort of thing. And I wasn't really entirely sure if I could or would. But off of the back of that, I got an invite to WABA Worlds, which was only a few weeks later. And it's when I first met all of the guys from WABA, and they're just so lovely, really, really good people, really supportive, really friendly, and they just kind of reignited that spark that I think I just lost, really. I'd been, hadn't really been focused very much, but they just completely turned that around for me. It's almost like a new family, and they just kind of have reignited that spark, which has now turned into a furnace, and it's just starting to snowball again, which is brilliant. So there's no chance of stopping. But yeah, definitely last year I'd considered hanging up my bikini for sure. But,
okay.
Yeah.
And so the basis of meeting a new group of competitors that want to share in your experience, want to communicate, share, lift you up, is kind of what changed your mind from your last competition to where you are now. And look at where that new enthusiasm brought you to, doing well at Worlds, doing great at the Universe, and then getting your professional status.
Yeah.
Let's say that again.
No, sorry, I don't think I said anything. I was
Okay. So we want, that's one of the things that we want to, that this particular events and the events that we've, both of our organizations, both WABA and Global Bodybuilding, as well as in the expos that we're trying to put together, is we're trying to give that feeling to the general population, not just competitors. We're lucky that we are a resource for one another, and we are emotionally help each other out, as competitors, because like I said, we have one vision of building this great physique. But there's all these emotions and experiences that you have, that we've all gone through, that we want to share with individuals that might consider or, have some kind of doubts, so give you an example right now. If you hadn't met anybody from WABA, would you have given up on bodybuilding?
I probably would have given it a bit of a breather for quite a while. I would not have stopped training because I just couldn't do that. But I would have definitely been considering what to do. And it's, yeah, I was really, really close to completely stopping. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I can't say yes or no really, because obviously that isn't kind of where I went, but it's, it was very close to my mind. If I hadn't been invited to the Worlds, I'm not entirely sure exactly what I would have done. I would have probably done another one in a year or so or something like that, but it would never have been with this much enthusiasm, definitely.
So from that particular point, and now, you know, having you become a professional and having this platform of a professional, what do you want to be remembered, or what do you want people to know about you as you're a professional now?
That's quite a tough question, to be honest. I don't know. It's there's a lot of drive and a lot of passion involved within it, and even if it is that it's that you do kind of have a time when you're not entirely sure what to do. I think it's hard to say try and find the right group of people, obviously, but you know, just if there is something that you're solely passionate about, it's, you know, trying to maybe kind of broaden your horizons just to try and find out what it is. And for me personally, I think I am passionate about it. I am sort of very driven with a lot of things, and hopefully that kind of comes across through what I do. I really enjoy it. I try not to be one of the stereotypical people that walks around with a big grumpy face on or anything like that. And I do like to kind of share exactly what it is that is there and that is going on. And hopefully it's that kind of the friendly kind of approachability which people will recognize me for.
Well, and that's hard, you know, for you know, a person that's not in the world to come up to bodybuilders, whether male, female, are not. You can't say they're very approachable. You know, we have, you know, we are, you know, are very big, very muscular, very driven, have our blinders off, and we're sometimes, to most, we don't seem approachable. Mm-hmm. What would you say to people that think that?
Don't judge a book by its cover, I would state. Understandably, anybody who is going through any kind of particular diet or time or moment, they may outwardly look completely different to how they're feeling on the inside. And until you kind of go and just literally just go and have a chat with somebody, you're never going to know. And I completely understand that it's, you know, it can be kind of really daunting to speak with someone. You know, people still say that about me, and I'm like, I'm 5'2". Do you know what I mean? Just come and have a chat. It doesn't really matter. So there's, yeah, I mean, just go and have a chat. Just go and have a chat with somebody, and, you know, just be open and honest with them, and, you know, try not to just launch into something completely random, which they might just be like, oh. But, you know, just have a chat about training and ask them a couple of questions. You know, they probably love to talk about themselves, so just ask them how they're feeling.
What got you started? What was the feeling, and what was your motivation in getting started in bodybuilding a long time ago?
I'm going to completely name drop somebody now. Roy McLean. It's his fault. I completely blame him. I was managing a fitness club, and he was about to do his very first competition, and I just kind of put a board up, and we were like, follow Roy and let's, you know, support Roy and do all of this. Went to the show. He did really well. He looked phenomenal, and people turned around and went, "I think the girls look a lot like you. Why don't you have a go?" And I just went, "Okay, so I will," and I did. And like I said earlier, my first show I wasn't really ready, but then a few weeks later I did another show which I looked a lot better at. So I would say class that one was my first, and then that's where it kind of started. So I completely blame Roy for the fact that I've gotten into this, and I tell him that on quite a regular basis. Especially if I'm having a bum day. It's his fault.
So if it wasn't for Roy, you would that have ever crossed your mind?
I don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. Possibly then at some point in the future, but for now we're just going to stay with blaming Roy.
Do you see yourself as a motivation to somebody else?
Yes, I do, for the fact that people tell me that I am. So yeah, I get quite a lot of people messaging me or speaking with me saying that I've inspired them for this and whatever, or people just kind of asking questions, which most of the time, if I'm able to kind of sit and have a chat with people or to message people back, then I try my hardest to, because a lot of the time I don't want them to be given misinformation either, and there's a lot of not 100% great coaches out there, so I'd rather, I'm not saying that I know everything completely, but I still would just like to know that some people have been given some good information,
Good. How did you, compared to the different international events, how did you see coming to the United States and doing the Oklahoma?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like I said earlier, it was an opportunity that I wouldn't have missed. It was the first time that I'd been able to come over to America, and it was the first time, obviously, that GBO and WABO had affiliated to have a show together. So all of those things encompassed, there wasn't a chance that I was going to miss it, and it was brilliant. It was a really, really good time. Myself and Trevor were there, and so was Anita, Trevor Chung and Anita, and all three of us just had a fantastic time. I was lucky enough to stay for a few days afterwards as well, and just to kind of check out Oklahoma City. And yeah, I mean, it was the whole kind of the experience of everything was brilliant. It was really, really brilliant, and I was really glad to be there.
When I hear there's a little incident that happened in Oklahoma, which you see it internationally all the time with different sports, and what I mean by that is, especially sports in your country, like soccer and in Italy as well. You see that around the world where you'll have guys after an event drop down, kiss the ground, eat grass, exchange shirts, and I can tell you, I've done many different competitions here in the United States. I've traveled all through the United States, and I rarely, you'll see a handshake every once in a while. But I remember when one of the Italians had just won his event, he dropped down and he kissed the stage.
Yeah.
And to me, that was, again, I've in my years of competitive bodybuilding, I can say that I have not seen that in the United States, and it took him to come in, and everybody out there, all the different audience and even the judges were just amazed at what, the truthfulness of accomplishing something and coming into the stage, in the United States and competing that way. Mm-hmm. International events, in my opinion, just seem to have this incredible feeling all throughout. I mean, it's not just a competitive competition of bodybuilding. There's, like I said, there's a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling that people want to share, especially if there's a language barrier.
Yeah, it's I mean, Italians have so much passion anyway. It's absolutely phenomenal. But like, I think you kind of touched a lot on it there when you kind of mentioned it isn't just. It is like there's such a personal journey as well. So there's things kind of flying around Facebook at the moment saying it's not your genetics which get you up at 5 a.m. to go and do your cardio and all this kind of stuff. That's pure dedication, and there's nobody else which can really get you to do something like that or to follow the diet to such a level that you do come in on a particular shape. So it is down to the individual to put themselves through whatever it is that they need to put themselves through to turn up onto the stage looking in the condition that they want to be in. So if they've ticked all of the boxes and managed to get through the entire journey and then to win, whether it's just their class, their overalls, or a pro card, it's the feeling is second to none. You know, I mean, when my name was called for that, and I was just like, it almost takes your breath away. You know, it's like everything that you've put yourself through, not just for your standard 10 or 12-week diet, but for however many years that you've been training up to that particular point, because it is an entire journey. It isn't just that one prep. It's everything that you've put yourself through, and finally you've managed to kind of to achieve something to a certain level, and it's a feeling which you can't really kind of take away, you know, in any way, shape, or form. It's brilliant. It's a really, really emotional time. So I can completely understand why you kissed the stage.
So what's next for you? What's next on your agenda in the competitive world?
I'm going to be going over to Verona, so over to Italy in June for the WABA Worlds. We're going to be heading over there soon, so that's my next one. And then after that, we'll be looking towards Tenerife again into December, and hopefully come over to Oklahoma next year. So there's those kind of few big ones that we've got a plan in place now, an absolute game plan. So you better watch out next year.
So Russ, do you see all the differences that we have with in the sport and all over the world?
Absolutely. And one of the things that is the thread between all of them is the passion you have for the sport and the support you have for each other. You know, and I one of the things that struck a chord with me while you were speaking about this was the fact that everybody in the sport is still human. You know, you still go through the emotions, ups and downs, the challenges, everything that goes day to day throughout your training. And when people feel, I think it's more individuals that are not involved in the sport they feel more uncomfortable about approaching you because of their own fears and ambitions, you know, where they are in their own place. And it's not that you're unwilling to give, it's that you've gone through so much already that they probably are feeling, inferior and insecure about what's going on. And, you know, it's with any sports, you know, I see it in basketball, I see it in football, I see it in soccer. I see, you know, people that have been to the top of the sport, they've gone through the experience and the time and the effort and the dedication and everything that goes along with it to get there. And, you deserve to be on stage. You deserve to be, seen as being very efficient with what you're doing and have the dedication and everything that goes along with that. And I just applaud you guys. And Ernesto, thank you so much for bringing people like Leslie to the table and bringing them on the show and sharing these experiences. Because, this event here in June 4th is all about bringing people together that they can see a new opportunity, you know, see something and discover something that's inside them and spark that passion that they've yet to see. So thank you for being here today, Leslie. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
So Ernesto, any other announcements for the June 4th event at Legend Sports Complex? I know there's a lot of moving parts here and a lot of people working on behind the scenes, and we always need volunteers. Do we still need more volunteers and vendors and everything?
Volunteers. We have, a number of vendors. I think we've gotten up to 40 vendors as of right now. Different fitness companies, different apparel companies, nutritional companies. We're having CrossFit. We're having the combine competition, which is football related. We're having the strongman and the CrossFit, along with the bodybuilding, all going all at once. Again, these are all people that are going through their journey into trying to accomplish either some dream or a goal that they've set themselves up to. We have ESPN covering the event. That's a big one within itself, that ESPN will be covering all the different sporting events that we're having there. There'll be a lot of publicity coming up in the next couple of weeks on that. We've talked to a couple of different newspapers that will be covering the information as well, since we're having, different international athletes coming in, like Leslie, a couple of them from South America, since it's kind of close for them to come up and visit Houston. So yes, all those things are going on at the moment.
Well, and what we're doing is building momentum and sharing stories about the passion and the intimacy of this community and how we support each other in a community like this. And this is something I can do to help out. And I applaud both of you for all the work and effort that you put into the sport. And I look forward to seeing others, in the CrossFit community, the strongman competition, the combine. There's a lot of talented athletes out there that are willing and able to participate. And I look forward to bringing everyone together and seeing this actually take place on June 4th in the Houston market. So this is amazing time, Ernesto, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Russ. Thank you, Leslie.
Yes, sir.
And as always, Ernesto will be joining us every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. We'll be bringing in athletes, talking about their challenges, their motivation, everything that they have going on in their life that keeps them moving forward and inspiring others. So Ernesto, until Thursday at 2 o'clock, we will be in touch. Thank you, Leslie. Have a good night.
Leslie, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Have a good night.
Thank you.